my dear peoples. Hope you are all fine at home. Welcome to Krishna Family Chronicle session. In this module, we are going to see about Grade 8 History, Chapter 1 How, When, and Where. The word history can even be pronounced in a modern way as Hi Story. We all people will enjoy hearing stories. For narrating the stories, we have to pick up a character and the incident which has happened related to him at the past, where it has happened, and when it has happened. Now it's easy to narrate the story. Same way, the subject history also narrates a story about a king or queen or the religion spreaded by him or the war attempt by him, the warriors present over in his throne or about a country. So it's very easy to learn the subject history if you narrate it as a story. Next topic is Introduction to History. History, it is the study of past events and it is much more than memorizing dates. I have heard many children saying that history is full of strings of dates, it is very difficult to memorize, it is very difficult to keep in mind, but not at all. You are all remembering the dates of your birthday, your mother's birthday, your father's birthday, even your grandparents. You are all memorizing all the dates and events which you love more. Example, if I ask you one question, you will itself get an idea about it. When is our country's Independence Day? Yeah, well, it's on August 15. See how come you are remembering it? It is because you love our country. The same way, if you start to love anything, you can remember the event related to it and the dates and years which are relevant to it. So, it is not difficult to learn history. It's very easy to learn history. If you want to know about the history, you have to know the events, the place in which it has occurred, and the dates and the names and the learning facts. Meaning of history. History, it is about changes that occur over time. That is, finding how things were in the past and how things have changed. For example, if you take the evolution of mobile phone, the history of mobile phone have only brought the new technology and modernization in the mobile phone. The idea of learning history have only made the programmers to make a new program to modernize the mobile phone. Before British arrival, our India was with 80% of Hindu and 20% of Islam. And in Hinduism, we have 5 types of caste. The first level priority was given to Brahmins, who are all priests in the temples, and Kshatriyas, who are all warriors in the kingdom, and even king himself is a Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, who were the traders, and Sudras, who were servants to Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, and the Dalit, the untouchable peoples, or the lower caste peoples. These 5 caste system was followed in Hinduism and social life was not equal to the people in India. The first priority was given to Brahmin. Brahmin was offered with government job. They were allowed to pursue the higher educations and they were given higher priority even by the kings and the warriors. Kings and queens started to preserve all the incidents happened in their life by carving in the stone sculptures and by writing in the manuscripts. The same way, when British occupied our country or enthroned our country, they started to follow the habit of recording all the incidents that are happening in their power. When colonial period started in India, Robert Clive, who was the chief supervisor in English East India Company, ordered Rinal to draw a map for India or Hindustan with a picture portraying as a Brahmana offering sastras to Britannia. Britannia means British power. As per the order of Robert Clive, Rennell also produced the first map in 1782. So, the first map of India was produced by Rennell in the year 1782 as per the advice of Robert Clive. British was not only the colonial power of India, but it had occupied many places all over the world. To reveal its supremacy, it published an ad of Lipton's tea by making Queen Victoria's third son, Prince Arthur, as a lead role. Prince Arthur is also known as Duke of Connaught, and the ad suggests the royalty all over the world associated with the tea because the big share of the tea was held over by the British, and this ad was published in the year 1922. And the British made the record to portray to the people that many governor generals and viceroys have administrated the India and maintained the financial power in a well flourishing manner. The first governor general of India was VIII Hastings, and the last viceroy of India was Lord Mountbatten. And some of the other important governor generals are Lord Wellesley, Lord Bentinck, Lord Dalhousie, Lord Canning, Lord Lawrence, Lord Lytton, Lord Ripon, Lord Curzon, Lord Herning, and Lord Irwin. The further module will clearly note to you that what these lords have done to the Indian administration. And Warren Hastings, the first Governor General of India, occupied his throne or position in the year 1773. How do we periodize Indian history? Indian history was periodized by two personalities. One is by James Mill and other is by our own historians. First, let us see about James Mill classification. Who is James Mill? James Mill was a Scottish economist and political philosopher, and he has done a massive 3-volume book called A History of British India. That is the evidence of our Indian history classification by James Mill. Scottish means he belonged to the place called Scotland. An economist means the person who is well versed in economy. The book A History of British India portrayed that Indian history is divided into three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and British. He did so as such as Hindu, Muslim, and British because at that time, as insisted earlier, India was occupied by Hindu and Muslim, and the third group which entered was British. So only he classified India as Hindu, Muslim, and British. And Mill also thought that ancient societies were at lower level of civilization than Europe because you already know there was a social inequality in Indian people because of the rulers of India. The rulers of India were mostly Hindus and Muslim, and the Hindu rulers specifically they classified the Hinduism into 5 stages and gave priority only for the Brahmins. Mill felt that British could only civilize India. To do so, it was necessary for him to introduce European manners. European manners means the way of dressing, the way of eating, all food items, cloth items, everything was exported from Europe to India. He also suggests that period before British in India was one of the darkness. This was total a messy statement to all the Indian rulers and the queens. They didn't accept the fact what James Mill told. So they couldn't accept the periodization of India that was made by James Mill. So James Mill's periodization of Indian history has its problem because of saying the statement that British India was only bright, not the India before the British. Next, let us see the classification of India by Indian historians. Indian historians divided the India into three periods. One is ancient, second one is medieval, and third is modern. It is not the period which was taught by themselves. It was the periodization borrowed from the Western countries. So, this division has its problem. It was not accepted by our own Indians because it was borrowed from Western countries. Even though it was borrowed from Western countries, it was associated with many technological implements like science, reason, democracy, liberty, equality. But even then, it was not accepted by our Indian historians. Ancient history means it was the period between 4000 BC to 500 AD. Medieval history means it was the period between 500 AD to 1500 AD. Modern history means it was the period between 1500 AD to present. Medieval is the period between ancient and modern. Modern means it is the present world that we are surveying. Ancient means it is the prehistoric world. In ancient historical time, the people used stone tools. In medieval historical time, the people used iron and steel tools. In modern historical time, we people are using rifles and guns. How do we know our history? As said earlier, our Indian kings and queens have the art of maintaining their life incidents through sculptures and manuscripts. The same activity was practiced by British too. But they did the things differently. They maintained an official record, and these records were stored in a separate room. Even this practice is still practiced in an habitual manner. We have a record room in collector office, Tahsildar office. Even this record habit is practiced in schools, libraries, hospitals, etc. In 19th century, the documents were beautifully written by calligraphists. British used calligraphists to write the records. Calligraphists are the people who are well versed in the art of calligraphy. Calligraphy means the art of beautiful writing. By the middle of 19th century, these documents were printed because printing machines were invented. And the best example where all the records of India were stored is the National Archives of India, which is at Delhi. It was established in the year 1920 and it is also known as the National Museum of India, where it consists of all the records and the letters and the documents from governments and various administrators, and it's arranged as per the date from 18th century, and these records are in good condition. When a British enter into a country, it have the practice of surveying the country. So the practice of survey was introduced by British, whereas the practice of census was introduced by Americans. Survey is taken once in 5 years, whereas census is taken once in 10 years. Survey can be taken as per the user's wish, but census are taken related to the population. Survey become common under colonial administration, that is British rule. In village, often people take revenue survey. That is, revenue survey means related to the land, soil quality, flora, fauna, and cropping pattern. And there are many other surveys like botanical survey, zoological survey, archaeological survey, anthropological survey, and forest survey. By surveying only, we came to know there is a plant, custard apple, and it was found in the year 1770s. What official records do not tell. I have already told record means it is all the activity that is done by the government. So, records do not tell what other people in the country felt. Other people means common people. Only the diaries of people or travelers or autobiographies of important personality can tell about literate people. The normal people who are illiterate or normal human beings who have not written the book, their history is not found in our country. So, no record of the history is available for the tribals, peasants, workers, or the poor people. So, my dear pupils, be a scholar so that your history will also be noted to the future generation. Let us recapitulate the entire module. First, we have seen about the introduction to history. History means study about the past. Meaning of history. By knowing about the past, we can predict the future things. Caste system in Hinduism. In India, Hinduism was classified into five, that is Brahmanas, Satriyas, Sudras, Vaisyas and Dalits. First map of India. It was designed by James Rinnell by the advice given by Robert Clive, and in that map he portrayed a picture of Brahmanas offering the Sastras to Britannica. Let us recapitulate the entire module. First, we have seen about the introduction to history. History means study about the past. Meaning of history. By knowing about the past, we can predict the future things. Caste system in Hinduism. In India, Hinduism was classified into five, that is Brahmanas, Satriyas, Sudras, Vaisyas and Dalits. First map of India. It was designed by James Rinnell by the advice given by Robert Clive, and in that map he portrayed a picture of Brahmanas Sastras to Britannica. Next, Lipton's Tea Act. It was enacted by Queen Victoria's third son, Prince Arthur, and he is also known as the Duke of Connaught. And Governor General and Viceroys. First Governor General of Indian history was Warren Hastings, and last Viceroy was Lord Mountbatten. Under James Mill's classification of Indian history, we have three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and British. And he stated that Indian history was in darkness before the arrival of British. And he told that Indians are lower civilized than Europeans, so he meant to thought as European manners, and historians classified with the Western periodization, that is ancient, medieval, and modern. And how do we know about history means it is through the records that we have stored. The record that is stored in India is now available at National Archives of India, and National Archives of India is established in the year 1920 and it's at New Delhi. Practice of survey was introduced by British in India, and through survey only we found out the specimens of custard apple. The official records do not tell what common people is thinking about. That's all we have seen in this module. Hope so you are all clear with this topic. And I like to end this module with a quote that life starts to sparkle when you start to do many things differently. Hope so we are all doing things differently, and sure we will sparkle as like a stars in the sky. Always the Krishnanians rocks in a different manner. Thank you so much.